Oh, for quick streaming. It's right around the corner. Come on, man. No, that ain't what I want to be in. Let me check it live on the other end. Okay. Yep, it's live. Hold on, we finna jump into. Hold on, let me hide this. Okay. See, it's not showing. I don't know why it's not doing that. Hold on, y'all. Copy the link. Why it's not on? Wow, we finna jump into it, y'all. I'm just trying to share the show for my brother go in. All right.
The full knowledge of himself is a superb and supreme picture of creation. When man becomes possessor of the knowledge of himself, he becomes master of his environment, the captain of his own ship, the director of his own destiny, the accomplisher of his own ends. Man should understand himself because man is full of knowledge, and this knowledge is a gift of nature. When Mother Nature created man, she deprived him of nothing. He was given the faculty of understanding all things around him. His faculty for understanding has not been taken away from him. None of his senses have been taken away from him. So there is no excuse for the black man.
Red in my team, red, black, and green. Queen and king, salute, now scream. I should bring forth another hit. I should. I'm red in my team, red, black, and green. Queen and king, salute, now scream. I should bring forth another hit. I should.
All right. Peace and Black African Power, family.
Welcome back to Kofi Pie Side TV. I want to say Fatmo Alafie, Fatmo Iwa Pele, Majuba Iba E Egungun, Majuba Iba E Egungun, Majuba Iba E Ilakba, Majuba Iba E Ilakba. I always want to give honor and praises to the ancestors because without the ancestors, we wouldn't be here. We are our ancestors. I also want to extend my honors and respect to the true and living elders that is elders according to African traditions and African criteria. ETM Hotep. ETM Hotep means welcome in peace. So we want to welcome everybody in peace. Dua Duau, Dua Aku, Dua Necha, uh, Rini Kofi Paisai. We have another great show for y'all today. My brother Sutek will be going in today. I got brother Satepmara Sutek on the panel. I don't know if any other Kofi Paisai TV affiliates and family members going to join today. But y'all got anything to say before we jump into it, man? Let's get it.
Nah, man, I don't got too much to say. Get into it. Peace to the family. Peace to everybody that will end up seeing this video later. Peace to the panel. Let's get into it.
You got anything, Satep? I can't see. Satep still on here, Sutek?
Nah, yeah, I'm still on here. Nah, I just want to say peace to the chat, peace to everybody on the panel.
All right. All right. Hold on one second, brother Sutek. I'm gonna come out. I'm gonna mute my mic and go back in and share it. And so there won't be no noise on my end. Hold on.
Okay, so peace to the family. Today, I'm going to be dealing with the identity of the Yoruba people. There's claims floating around that come from outside of Africa, that they're Israelites or Hebrews or Jews, with terminology that you want to use. So we need to learn a little bit about their culture and hopefully be able to answer this question. You go to the first slide, Kofi. Okay, this is this first slide here is a quote from I can't remember which book. Hold on, let me get the.
I'm gonna keep my mic on. They saying sound check. You do sound a little distorted, brother Sutek. But I'm gonna keep my mic on. So if I need to tell you you're going in and out or whatever they say sound check. They say you sound muffled. You do kind of sound a little muffled. So I'm gonna just keep my mic on.
Okay, do I sound better now?
Say something else.
Like shit.
Yeah, you sound good. You sound better. All right, let me go back in. All right. All right.
Okay, can you still hear me?
Yeah, you.
Okay, so this is a quote from Black Jews in Africa and America. I will have the source at the end. But let's get right into it. The supposedly Jewish origin of some Black African communities were taken to explain a wide variety were taken to explain a wide variety of hard to understand African customs and beliefs, which were assumed to be predicated upon Jewish customs and beliefs. Often, colonial officials and missionaries imagined that various African languages were connected to Hebrew, Aramaic, and to other Semitic tongues, and frequently they would maintain that they derived directly from Hebrew. Such identifications were made out of a genuine desire to comprehend the seemingly impenetrable customs, religions, and languages encountered on the colonial frontier. Ethnographers, missionaries, colonial civil servants, and travelers, time and time again, maintained that African tribes, including the Xhosa, Maasai, Yoruba, Shona, Igbo, Zulus, Hottentots, Tutsis, Ashantis, and many more, practiced Jewish customs, spoke partially Jewish languages, and were of biological Jewish origin, of the seed of Abraham. So I just threw that in there as a quote to.
You sound muffled again. Sound like you're going out. And brother Sateparaj, put the link in the chat for anybody want to come in, brother Jehudi and brother Zaneb or whoever else want to come in. Put the link in it. Can you do that for me, Satep?
Okay, give me 1 second.
I can't do it because I'm sharing the show. I don't know where Sean at. He talk about somebody leaving him high and dry today. We put us that regular link in where we can't even get in. I got the good link in. He ain't even in here.
Okay, do I sound a little better now?
Yeah. You kind of still sound a little muffled, but it's better than what it was. Oh, you good? You good now? Cause a while ago it sounded like you was up underwater and muffled.
Okay. Well, just stop me if you get too muffled again. Okay, you go to the next slide. So we can start out by dealing with the archaeology, the history, and the oral tradition of these Yoruba people. I provided a few sources for each, so you see what the sources and the scholars
You're
say.
going in and out again. You sound like you up on the water.
Let me try to go out real quick and come back in.
Yeah, hold on just 1 second. We have kind of technical difficulties.
Is that any better?
Oh yeah, that's much better. Go ahead. Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah. So let me say that over. I'm gonna be first we're gonna go into the history, the archaeology, and the oral tradition of these Yoruba people so we can see where the scholars say they come from and where they say they come from. I put a couple of sources for each in here so you can grasp the point that I'm trying to make. So let's go to the next slide. Okay. Let it be stated that the origins of the people and culture known as Yoruba are so wrapped in antiquity that to exactly say where and when it all began is impossible. However, the sincere attempt to present a viable description will be undertaken. The Yoruba history begins with the migration of an East African population across the Trans-African route leading from the Mid-Nile River area to the Mid-Niger. Archaeologists, according to M. Omolea, inform us that Nigeria was inhabited more than 40,000 years ago, or as far back as 65,000 BCE. This civilization was deemed in part the Nok culture. The Nok culture was visited by the Yoruba group between 2000 and 500 BCE. The group was led, according to Yoruba historical accounts, by King Oduduwa, who settled somewhat peacefully in the already established Ile-Ife, the sacred city of the indigenous people. This time period is known as the Bronze Age, indicating that the civilization of both groups were at relatively high levels. Olumide J. Lucas proclaims the Yoruba during antiquity lived in ancient Egypt before migrating to the Atlantic coast. He uses as demonstration the similarity of identity of languages, religious beliefs, customs, and names of persons, places, and things. So we have a couple of things in this one slide. We have um, M. Omolea saying, an archaeologist saying that uh, the land of Nigeria was already inhabited for 40,000 years, or as far back as 65,000 BCE. Um, they was visited by the Nok culture between 2000 and 500 BCE, and we also have the oral tradition, which says the group was led by King Oduduwa, and they settled peacefully in Ile-Ife, which is we know the place that the Yoruba people call home. In the mythology, Ile-Ife is the seat of creation. But we'll get into that later. Next slide. The key point or focus on respect to the Yoruba religious evolution is that the Egyptian order, coupled with the earlier peoples, produced a more defined statement of what makes Yoruba. In the making of West Africa, AD 1000 8000, Onwubiko states, according to tradition, Oduduwa, the chief ancestor and the first king of the Yoruba, settled at Ile-Ife. From this point, his descendants became Yoruba kings and queens of Yoruba cities and territories. The greatest of King Oduduwa's descendants was Orenmian, who became the Alafin or ruler of the Oyo state somewhat around 1400 AD. Oremian Oremian's armies marched across the southern Sudan and penetrated deep into the tropical forest, conquering and laying the foundations of the Yoruba Empire. And you see the source at the bottom. Uh, Same thing, basically, as the last slide. We can go to the next slide. All of the various tribes of the Yoruba nation trace their origin from a leader called Oduduwa, and the city of Ile-Ife in present-day southwestern Nigeria. Ile-Ife is in fact the fable Ile-Ife is in fact fabled as the spot where God created man. The seven principal tribes that sprang up from Oduduwa's seven grandchildren are the Oyos, the Benins, the Elas, the Owus, the Ketus, the Sabes, and the Popos. The other tribes are offshoots of one or the other of these seven tribes. Linguistic evidence suggests that the Yoruba have always lived in their present habitat. Linguistic evidence further suggests that the area around Kaba, which is Midwest Nigeria, or a little south of it, may be the point of dispersion from the Yoruba and the point where Proto-Yoruba Igala was spoken. So, as far as linguistics, the linguistic evidence shows that the Yoruba people have been there. But okay, man, I'll let y'all make your own conclusion to this. I'm just bringing the information. Next slide. According to Yoruba mythology, the holy town of Ife, or Ile-Ife, located in the middle of the land, located in the middle of their land, is the center of the universe and the origin of all mankind. So let me read that again. According to the Yoruba mythology, The holy town of Ife or Ile Ife, located in the middle of their land, is the center of the universe and the origin of all mankind. So this is the oral tradition again. They telling you the people themselves say Ile Ife is where they come from. It's the seat of creation. It's the center of the universe. It's the origin of all mankind. Um, the origin of the Yoruba people are shrouded in mystery. However, three clear narratives are discernible from several contending versions. The first is from the Yoruba oral tradition and creation myth. God, excuse me, God let down a chain at Ile Ife by which Oduduwa, the progenitor of the Yoruba people, and indeed all of man, descended, carrying a rooster, some earth, and a palm kernel. Oduduwa threw the earth into the waters, and the rooster scratched it to become land, out of which grew the palm tree with 16 branches representing the 16 original kingdoms. There were several versions of this myth, yet in all of them, Ile Ife is regarded as the spiritual center from which all Yoruba dispersed. Again, the oral tradition is letting you know these people themselves say they come from Ile Ife, from this eponymous ancestor, which is Oduduwa. So let's go to the next slide. So now we're gonna deal with the calendar. We know that the Israelites or the Jews or whatever you want to call them have a specific traditional calendar. So let's see if that in any way matches the Yoruba calendar. Next slide, Kofi. Okay, the Yoruba calendar or Kojoda is used by the Yoruba people of southwest Nigeria and southwestern Benin. The calendar has a year The calendar has a year beginning on the last moon of May or the first moon of June of the Gregorian calendar and an era of 8042 BCE. The new year coincides with the Ifa festival. The traditional Yoruba week has 4 days. The 4 days that are dedicated to the Orisha go as following. Day one is dedicated to Obatala or Sopana or Iyami or the Igungun, which is the ancestors. Day two is dedicated to Orunmila, or it can also be dedicated to Eshu or Ifa or Oshun in different lineages. Day three is dedicated to Ogun or Oshoshi. Day four is dedicated to Shango or Oya. To reconcile with the Gregorian calendar, Yoruba people also measure time in 7 days a week and 4 weeks a month. The 4 day calendar was dedicated to the Orisha, and the 7 day calendar is for doing business. Uh, and I put a note. My note is there is no Shabbat or day of the week for rest or Passover celebration of any kind in the Yoruba calendar. So take note of that. If these people were who these people who others are claiming that they are, then we should see that in their calendar system set somewhere. We should see these days, these traditions, these annual customs, but we don't. Okay, we can go to the next slide. Circumcision in the Yoruba culture. One thing off the rip, we already know that females is female circumcision in the Yoruba culture. From the jump, we already know that's not in this other tradition. Um, we have male circumcision in this other culture, but it's done a certain specific way. So we'll get into circumcision in the Yoruba culture. You can go to the next slide, Kofi. Circumcision is done by trained experts among the Yoruba for the good of both females and males. Female circumcision is not female genital mutilation in the Yoruba culture. It is meant to properly acculturate the females so that they behave properly like human beings. Now, I didn't write this, so if there's any issue from the ladies, the source is at the bottom. Direct your direct your comments there. Um,
Well, what happened? What'd you say now?
I was telling the females that I didn't write this because it says female circumcision is meant to properly acculturate the females so they behave like proper human beings.
Yeah, I know people lose their mind. I did a whole presentation on female
Right.
circumcision. So different cultures, every culture in Africa, because there's so many different ethnic groups in Africa. And all the cultures doesn't do circumcision. Certain people do circumcision. When you talk about the Yoruba people, you talk about the Dogon, the Dogon people, some of the people in Benin, Togo. So it's different places that do them, different places that doesn't do them, and different cultures do them for certain reasons. Different cultures do them for certain reasons because they feel like that's that the clitoris is a part of is a undeveloped phallus. Certain things in the Dogon tradition, you will see that their circumcision is tied into their mythology. Something with the uterus, something dealing with the uterus and the mythology of them being attacked by the female uterus and one of their mythologies. So it's just so many different reasons why, for them to do, for certain cultures to do female circumcision. I'm not saying it's right, but I'm just saying a lot of cultures in Africa does them, and a lot of cultures in Africa that doesn't do them, and it's different meanings of why different ethnic groups do them. Like I say, some ethnic groups do them for certain reasons, some ethnic do it for other particular reasons.
Yeah, that's right. And I remember that presentation that you did. It was very extensive, and if y'all get a chance, go back and watch that because Kofi get very detailed in it. It's very extensive. I'm gonna have to go back and revisit it myself. But okay, let's see where was I at. Okay, it was a common practice among the Oyos, Oshuns, Ibadan, subgroups of the Yoruba race in the olden days. Nowadays, the practice is dying out in those areas of the Yoruba ethnic group. And you see the source up right up under it. In the Yoruba religion, clitoridectomy, I always have a problem saying that word, clitoridectomy and circumcision are primarily associated with the warrior Ogun. Male circumcision is viewed as a sacrifice to the phallic Orisha Eshu. In Yoruba, to circumcise is dakoda, which means to be acceptable as a sacrifice, and oko, which is penis, or in this context, foreskin. So we see that, like I said, from the jump, female circumcision is not done in that other culture. Um, Male circumcision is done in that other culture, but we can't say that because it's done in that culture and it's done in the Yoruba culture that the Yoruba get it from them. The earliest attested attestation to circumcision we find in Africa, in Egypt. We should all know this, and they do circumcision. The Israelites done circumcision for a completely different reason. Yoruba are doing circumcisions as male circumcision as a sacrifice to Ogun. I'm pretty sure you don't get circumcision in that other culture as a sacrifice, and if so, it is not to Ogun. So, okay, we can go to the next slide. So we'll get into religion, the religion of the Yoruba, which we know as Ifa. And we will see if there's any similarities, any differences. We're just gonna see what's going on. So let's go to the next slide. Ifa is first and foremost an Orisha or deity in Yoruba traditional religion. Ifa is also a complete system of divination. As an oracle, it plays a practical and significant role in Yoruba traditional religion by offering answers and solutions to existential problems in forms of ritual offerings and sacrifice to the appropriate deities. It is one of the higher it is one of the higher in the Yoruba pantheon, which it is one of the higher in Yoruba pantheon, which contains as many as 400 deities, which is supposed to be 400 plus one. 400 plus one deities responsible for all aspects of life and living in the Yoruba community. To become an Ifa priest or priestess, which I'm gonna pause right there because we don't see any priestesses in that other culture that we're speaking of. As a matter of fact, it's forbidden for women to teach in that other culture that we're speaking of. So I'm gonna stop it right there and keep going. To become an Ifa priest or priestess, one must submit to a rigorous training and initiation process guided by an Ifa expert known as Oluwo, which is master of esoteric knowledge. This training can last from 8 to 12 years. Priests are known as babalawos, which are fathers of secrets, and priestesses are known as iyalawos, mothers of secrets. Odu Ifa is the sacred text of the spiritual and ethical tradition of Ifa that has its origin in the ancient Yoruba land located in modern Nigeria. So their holy text, which is the Odu Ifa, the Odu of Ifa, is has its roots in modern day Nigeria in Yoruba land, not over there further east, right in Africa, in West Africa. So we'll keep going. Ancestor veneration. Ancestor veneration is a formalized structure for connecting with the accumulated knowledge, wisdom, and power of our dead blood relatives. Ifa understands this energy, the essence of all of us, cannot be created or destroyed. Itutu are offerings to our ancestors or Igungun. Ifa believes no matter what we do in life, supporting our ancestors is essential. So, and that's from, I see the source got kind of cut off. It's from The Way of the Orisha by Philip John Nemar. But we see no similarities that I can note from this culture to that other culture. And I'm saying that other culture because I don't even really like bringing them up too much. I kind of use these questions that I pose as a way to grasp people's attention. And when I grasp your attention to try to answer this question, I help you to learn about the culture. So that's why I keep saying that other culture. So I don't even really too much want to mention them. Uh, Next slide. The Orisha. The Orisha are energy that, for the most part, represent aspects of nature. Oshun represents sweet waters, love, money, and conception. Shango represents thunder and lightning, strategy, and he is the warrior. Eshu is the messenger to Olodumare, which is the supreme deity or the supreme god. He's the owner of the roads and opportunities. He is also the owner of Ashe, which is spiritual energy. Yemoya and Olokun are the ocean, which is Olokun, The mother, Yemoya, the provider of wealth. Obatala is the head, clarity, arbiter of justice. Oya is the marketplace, tornadoes, change of fortune. She is the female warrior. Ogun is the owner of all metals. He is a fierce warrior. He represents honor and integrity. And we know Olodumare is the all in all. He's the everything, the all that there is. Okay, so we can go to the next slide. And when, for the record, we do not see that system in that other culture. The Orisha in that other culture would possibly equate to angels, but we don't see these angels being worshipped in that other culture. We don't see sacrifices and offerings being made to those angels in that other culture. So, I mean, I'll let you make your mind up on your own. The Ogboni Society, the secret society of the Yoruba. Okay, let's go to the next slide.
Bunny.
Yes, sir. The Ogboni Society is an institution indigenous to southwestern Nigeria, where it emerged among the Yoruba people. It is a society of secrets, often referred to as a secret society. The Ogboni Society fulfills many functions of a religious, political, and judicial nature. Members of this society are distinguished and bound by their veneration of the mother goddess, Ile, uh, aka Oduduwa. Oduduwa is a female in certain lineages, mother of all, thought of as privileged intermediaries between the living and the ancestors, whose primary abode is earth. Priests of the Ogboni Society are often called to consort the oracle to determine a number of sensitive issues, such as ancestral support to the king or for the king. In fact, members of the Ogboni Society are guardians and protectors of the divine oracle and laws. Okay, we can go to the next slide. Before the advent of colonialism, Yoruba government was centered on the powerful Obas, which are the kings. However, the king's acts were expected to conform to certain social sanctioned norms, and deviance from these norms, such as despotic administration or questionable decisions made single-handedly, was checked by the Ogboni Society, which functioned as the Oba's Council of Elders. In other words, it was the Ogboni's duty to set up institutional checks and balances by protecting the community against excesses or abuses from the king. This ultimately acting as a powerful agent of law and order maintenance in the society. In fact, it was the Ogboni elders' responsibility and prerogative to select kings and remove them if deemed necessary. They derived this right from their spiritual and religious connections. So the Ogboni Society was a secret society of elders, basically, that uh, held sway over not only the community, not only over the oracles and the priests and the priestesses, but the king also. They had the right to select the king, and if the king wasn't acting right, causing harm to the community, they can get the king up out of there. I don't think we see that in that other culture. You can go to the next slide, Kofi. Scarification. I shouldn't even have to say no. We know that they got laws against cutting of the face. You go to the next slide. The Yoruba tribal marks are scarifications, which are specific identification and beautification marks designed on the face or body of the Yoruba people. The tribal marks are part of the Yoruba culture and usually inscribed on the body by burning or cutting of the skin during childhood. The primary function for these tribal marks is for identification of a person's tribe, family, or patrilineal heritage. Other secondary Other secondary functions of the marks are symbols of beauty, Yoruba creativity, and keeping mischievous children alive. So they use scarification to identify each other amongst other tribes. For one, they
Mhm.
also use it for beautification because in their culture it was a beautiful thing. And also, if your child was to run off and go missing amongst other people, they will automatically know where your child is from, what people your child belongs to because of these scarification marks.
Right. It was like you said, it was an identification mark because certain areas, like if you look in the Sudan, man, you got so many different tribes in the Sudan, and you got different tribes that has broke out and formed other different clans who have become their own, becoming their own, right? So you have to
Mhm.
have these the different identification marks so they won't get you. You can identify what group is what groups. Like I said, especially when you're going in Sudan, man, I think you got maybe 20 or 30 different, or even more than that, ethnic groups just in the Sudan area. I think it's way more than that. But you got tons of different ethnic groups, tribes, and clans that is in that area. So they use these markings as an identification mark, and also, as you said, in certain tribes, they use it as beautification mark. You'll see certain women get these markings, and because the men are attracted to the women who have these certain markings on their face or
Yeah.
anywhere on their body, on their abdomens, on their arms, or etc. And they also are used for, um, I'm gonna just say for killing those that may kill their enemy, someone who causing harm in their own community, or wild animals or beasts that they have killed to protect, um, to protect their community.
Yep. And you did a presentation on scarification too, didn't
I went all the way in on scarification.
you? All the way in, man. Y'all got to go back in the vault and check out these videos, man. Kobe be putting in some work. Okay, you can go to the next slide. This practice was popular among Yoruba people of Nigeria, Benin, and Togo. During the transatlantic slave trade, tribal identification and facial stripes became important. Some repatriated slaves later reunited with their communities by looking at facial stripes. In traditional Yoruba societies, every child is born into a patrilineal clan called Idile Baba. The clans share clan names, Orile, poetry, Oriki, and taboos, Ewu, and tribal marks, Ile or Ila. The facial marks the facial marks on a child assigns the child full clan membership rights. The children with facial marks are called Okola. However, the use of tribal marks are fading in Yoruba land. So, like I said, we know we don't see that in that other culture. So that's an X for that one. You can go to the next slide. Santeria, the Yoruba religion of the diaspora. Next slide. Santeria is the transatlantic extension of the Yoruba religion into the Caribbean. The home of the Yoruba people is southwestern Nigeria, but they also have settled in Togo and Benin and have spread to those areas with an ancient religious system that now also has thousands of devotees in the Americas. Just as there are regional variants within the Christian, Buddhist, and Islamic religions, Santeria is simply the Cuban variant of this older, more extensive Yoruba religious tradition. Before the 18th century, only a small number of Yoruba were enslaved and brought into Cuba. But during the 18th century boom in sugar production, at the height of the slave trade, the number of Yorubas brought into Cuba increased dramatically. So we see a continuation. Not only do we see uh, the religion of the Yoruba, the pure religion of the Yoruba in southwestern Nigeria and throughout West Africa, Benin and Togo as well. Not only do we see that pure religion, but when they are shipped to the Caribbean and to the Americas, we see a continuation through syncretism, and we call that Santeria. So you go to the next slide.
So Tech,
What's up?
before you go on, can I just add something real quick?
Do your thing.
All right. I actually had this as a Facebook post, but it states by 1855 the European factor had become some importance in the Yoruba country, especially in Badara, Abakutu, and Lagos. However, it should be clear that the effect of the action of the European on the chain of events described above was very limited both in the days of the slave trade and those of abolition. In fact, such was the force of a local factor that they usually diverted the external European factor into producing unexpected results. It was in the days of abolition that European participation in the Atlantic slave trade expanded at a dramatic pace. While the trade from the ports of Benin declined sharply, slaves from Yoruba wars boosted the trade of Lagos, Porto Novo, and Wida. Lagos, in particular, attracted Brazilian traders and reached a new peak of prosperity. What abolitionists did was restrict the area to which Yoruba slaves were being carried, and thus to ensure the survival of Yoruba culture in the New World. The British naval squadron failed to stop the flow of slaves, but its success in contributing to the increase in liberating Yoruba slaves in Sierra Leone was significant. That's a Jai Crowder History of West Africa, Volume 2. Also, to add and to give clarity to that, the Yoruba Wars, the captives in the Yoruba Wars were the ones being sent over, depending on which side you consider to be captives. But they were being sent over at high rates. So when you said what you just said about the increase of how it was a minimum amount and then the increase over the period of time fluctuated, it was because of the Yoruba Wars and the captives.
Oh yeah, that's a good add on. See, I didn't even know that. Yeah, yeah, appreciate that, man. We did have this conversation about a week or two ago about
Week
Santeria
ago,
and Ifa.
last week.
Yeah, I started to kind of switch up a couple words, and this is what I said. Nah, I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave it how it is, man. I'm gonna leave it how it is. But between 1840 and 1870, the last period of Cuba's involvement in slave trading, more more than one third of the Africans brought there were Yoruba. Once Africans were in Cuba, they all, including the Yorubas, came under pressure to convert to Catholicism and abandon their traditional religions. The Catholic Church founded the Afro Catholic fraternities in cities with sizable African population. The fraternities, called cabildos, were mutual aid societies for people from the same African ethnic background. The Yoruba-based cabildos was an institutional basis for what would later become known as Santeria. And Santeria is Spanish for the worship of saints. So you see the secretism there. Um, I would say that Santeria is not the same as Ifa. I mean, many people have many different opinions. That's just my opinion. If it's cut, if it's been syncretized, it couldn't possibly be the same. Uh, we know it's a lot of us have a hard time getting back to that pure, uncut Ifa. Um, but I would say the Santeria is definitely, isn't it?
I mean, it's no excuse now, man, not to go when you talk about synchronizing. We understand through the Atlantic kidnapping trade, we understand that our people were scattered, was kidnapped, um, and scattered abroad everywhere, man. And we know that certain areas we had to synchronize certain things, so we wouldn't be punished, you know what I'm saying, or a cruel act taken upon us or our family members. So we synchronize their religion with our traditions in order to keep it hidden. But I mean, we in 2019, there's no reason you should be giving an offering to Saint Peter.
Exactly.
Hey, and to add to what both of you brothers are speaking in reference to, just the historical perspective of the Yoruba at this time during the illegal. This is the illegal. Just look at the date on the screen. From the 1840s to the 1870s, we're dealing with the illegal slave trade era. So guess who was not coming directly to North America? They weren't coming to North America no more. They were going they were going to South America. But if you I'm echoing Kofi.
Hey,
Oh, yeah, that was me. My bad. My bad.
Oh, if okay, so I'm just trying to give some context real quick. Um, this is the illegal slave trade era. So they were not going to North America. If they tried to go to South America during the illegal slave trade, you had ships that were out there that were redirecting. And if they were redirected, they would end up getting caught, brought back to Africa, and they would end
mhm.
up in Sierra Leone. However, because of the illegal slave trade era, it was huge for Cuba. In this part, in this time, I've done a lot of research on this, and I can give you some other sources. But they will come into Cuba and they will start, they was tending to sugar. The sugar plantation was real big. However, the influence and influx of the Yoruba people coming into the Caribbeans at this particular time, particular Cuba, a lot of the Africans that came into Cuba would stay there for a certain period of time, and then next thing you know, they would migrate up to North America and come in through another whole new trade system. But it wouldn't be necessarily a kidnapping type of a thing. It looked like an immigration movement. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, man. Okay. You go to the next slide, Kobe. Santeria, the syncretism of the original Yoruba religion of Ifa with Catholicism came into the came into the USA first with the Puerto Ricans in the 1940s and 1950s, and then with the flood of Cuban refugees in the 1960s. Haitian refugees then brought voodoo, a mixture of Yoruba, Fan, and Hausa deities with Congo gods and magic. Many practitioners of both voodoo and Santeria are seeking the basic Yoruba religion as their priestly leaders unwind and detach the Catholic saints from the Orishas. Those African Americans who reject this syncretism as a compromise to a slave religion look to Oyatunji village near Beaufort, South Carolina, where Yoruba culture and religion are still practiced.
Hey,
Now, yeah, I don't know if I can completely agree with the Oyatunji village comment, but uh, what was you gonna say, Kobe?
You want
no,
me to?
yeah, I was just gonna get Sean to speak. Cause Sean can speak, as Sean actually visit the Oja Tundra village. So
Oh,
uh,
okay.
yeah, so I was gonna ask him, you know what I'm saying, to kind of speak about uh that village in South Carolina real quick.
Yeah. So, just to give some context to this particular portion, I had the family with me. We had Cheryl Garfield and Monica. We all went to Oyatunja, and we basically just, walked the land, did a tour. We saw where everything was. They told us about the sugar plantations and all of that. The king was actually in Africa at the time that we was on the land, but they were having a party or an event of a party for some other some people that were coming in to host, because they would let them host on the land. However, to speak to in reference to, based on what we know, they do not practice a traditionalist form of the culture. It is a mixture of the traditionalism and leukemia, and some of the practices and the ways. So I just, it's a little integrated in there, in some admixture in there. We have to be honest about that. It's not the traditional practices, and we see that based on just comparing the practices and the worships of the deities. There could be some different perspectives as far as how they go about the like when you come and you stay there, right? They got these rooms where you can stay in if you're going to stay on the land. But let's say you're going through your initiation and your rites of passage and so on and so forth. There may be some spiritual practices that are different from what the traditionalists actually do. All in all, you can kind of see it mirror a little bit of the leukemia practices, and it's only because some past experiences and affiliations, I believe, with the Oyatunja and the king. So the king's father, previous kings that passed.
Yeah, man. I was gonna. I see. I didn't know you went to Oyatunja, but yeah, I'm glad you broke that down because I was gonna say from what I've heard that Oyatunja wasn't practicing pure Ifa. So yeah, I'm glad you broke that down, man.
Yeah, we really need to do a show on
And you're right, they ain't.
Yeah,
well
we do need to do a show on that,
yeah,
bro. That we really
because
do.
yeah, because we need to break down when we talk about Palo, we talk about Santeria, we talk about Lukami, we talk about Shango Baptist, all these different traditions, you know what I'm saying? We really need to break down for them because a lot of, if you go to looking, because I mean, I have, you look on my thing a lot. When I first got into, I was attracted to the Ephod tradition, still attracted to the Ephod tradition, studied the Ephod traditions. Or just it was hard for me to try to get into a ile, which is a temple. For those that may not know what ile means, but a temple because I'm in Mississippi. So anyway, a lot of the books that I have, it was hard for me to discern between which was the traditional Ephi religion and not a mixture of, I got some books that may have a mixture of Ephi and Lukimi. I may have some books that mix of Lukimi, Shantaria, and Ephi all mixed in. So I think we need to do a show and break down and dissect the difference so other people can know what to look for, you know what I'm saying, when they reading certain things so they can know if they want to practice Ephi in its purest form, they'll know what to look at. Okay, well nah, this is not, this is leukemia, this is Palo, you know what I'm saying, this is Santeria, you know what I'm saying, this is Shingo Baptist, and etc. So yeah, that's something that we really need to get into.
Need bro being on that show.
Yeah, we're gonna try to get him in on there.
Okay, well, you go to the next slide. I think I got one more slide and then my references. All right, so we could come to a conclusion now. There is what we see from this culture. The archaeological, anthropological, historical, and linguistic evidence does not suggest that the Yoruba came from outside of Africa. There was no Sabbath or day of rest no Passover celebration or tradition, no Hebrew inspired circumcision, no religious prohibition on women teaching, no laws against or prohibition of so called idols, no laws against cutting of the body or face. We also see a pantheon of deities or Orisha venerated via sacrifices, shrines, temples, etc. We see veneration of ancestors. We see the Yoruba of the diaspora retain a lot, not all, but a lot of their West African culture. Uh, we see secret societies used to choose kings, mediating crimes, select kings, and are accountable for their actions, the actions of the kings, that is. We see there's no Yahweh, no Elohim, no Nimrod, no Israel, no Canaan, no Abraham, no Noah, Moses, Jacob, David, nor Solomon. There's absolutely no legitimate evidence of the Yoruba being Israelites or coming from outside of Africa. And the next slide is my references. So that was the conclusion that I came to. Maybe you have something else in your mind that you can still come to the conclusion that these people come from outside of Africa, or they are Hebrews, or they're Israelites, or I'm just gonna say Hamitic hypothesis,
Yeah,
and leave it at that.
yeah, because ain't no when you look at the old dudes, there are different old dudes. And the different old dudes that I have studied, that's only been one old dude that they try to say the old Dudawar came from Arabia. This was the only God this only the thing I sing. It's garbage too, by the way. But I mean, I have seen nothing where uh these people from Yoruba, I mean these people that call the Yoruba people migrated from Israel into Africa. I know I've seen they migrated from the Sudan. There's a story where they migrated from the Sudan into Nigeria, where the Note culture had already been established. There's another story of them migrating from Egypt into Africa, and you can see the similarities when they deal with the crown. I can't remember exactly the name of the dome-shaped crown with the bird, but the people in Benin and Nigeria also have that similar crown with the bird. The colors, we know the colors, red and white, those crowns in Egypt, the same particular, and the similarities with the Yoruba people in Nigeria. So we can see some of the similarities where people would say certain things. So, but I mean, but it's about, I done seen about 6 or 7 different stories. I have never seen one with them coming from Israel into West Africa. And there we do see through uh the kidnapping trade and colonization, we do see people converting into other different religions for particular reasons, being enslaved for tax purposes, um, and all other forms of thing, or just converting. Because I mean, it was either convert or die. You know, that was the motto by a lot of these Arabs. You know what I'm saying? Convert or die by the sword. So you know, you see a lot of those of those people converting to other different religions, but they're not their African traditional religion. It's not their tradition. It's not the way of their ancestor. Those are things that was forced upon them, or they had to convert for, you know what I'm saying, like I said, for particular reasons, taxes and other things.
Yeah, man. I can't remember who it is, but somebody from that medieval period, uh, in the Sudan, or the land, the Western Sudan, the land of the blacks, uh, said that the Yoruba came from Canaan, and I think that's where it all started from. That I think that's the origin of this myth. Um, I mean, you got some myths that say so and so people come from the east, and you'll see people will see east and they'll run with it and assume that that's outside of Africa. So I mean, I don't know, man. These myths come in all different ways, shapes, and forms. But as far as we know, the Yoruba does not come from outside of Africa. I can't remember who it is that said they came from Canaan. I should have put that in the presentation. I apologize to the people for not, but uh, that's where the origin of this myth comes from. And I might have to come back and leave it in the comment section of this video. But yeah, that's where it comes from. I think I can't remember. Damn, I can't remember who it is. But yeah, I'll come back with that. But yeah, we know that they didn't come from outside of Africa. We don't see, and we definitely know that they ain't no Israelites. We don't see none of those traditions, none of those customs. We see circumcision, but Israelites don't hold a monopoly on circumcision. That started in Africa. That's an African custom. We also see female circumcision. If you accept one, you got to accept the other. That's forbidden in that other culture. Scarification, what they would call idol worship. Uh, they venerating multiple deities, ancestor worship. You
Mm-hmm.
don't see none of this. You don't see none of this in their other culture. So I don't get how these people can just take a claim from nothing and run with it. I can't let that happen.
Yep. Yep. I was trying to see did anybody ever join the panel? I'm still sharing my screen.
Me, yeah, you still sharing. Me, you, Sutek on here. I Satep on here, and Sutek and Satep. But I wanted to add some more clarity to what's going on. Like when you get into, and I think Kofi may have the book. Um, you ain't got the Yoruba warfare book. I
No,
did
I don't have that.
I did a presentation on the Yoruba warfare, but let me see. You got the History of West Africa book, Volume One, though.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. You near it?
No, I can get it. Hold on one second.
It's kind of handicapped, Sutik. I can't help you the way I want to, man, because all my big boy books stay in storage. But if I'm not mistaken, in the History of West Africa, Volume One, the chapter on the Yoruba, there's a chapter on the Yoruba. I forget which page number, but there's some information in there that could be vital to the actual presentation. But you don't. You mentioned some key points about the culture, but when you start talking about the culture, you got to get into, like I said on Garfield Show, the arts. So that means you got to look at the masquerade. You got to look at the festivals and things of that nature. What was designated for a Israelite, or anything related to that? Because remember, was a key part of maintaining and continuing the actual culture. So when you get into that, you got to deal with all perspectives. You just can't have a feel good moment or a similarity or a look alike when you're talking about culture. You actually have to um, indulge in the artistic expressions. But Kofi, you got your book.
Yeah, I got, man. I had ungrabbed. I got so many books with West African and History of West African Volume One by
Volume
J.F.
one.
Fadi or whoever this is, or Michael
Jai,
Crowdy.
Jay Ajay and Crowder.
Yeah, I got it right here.
Okay, can you go to the part with the Europe in it? I think you're gonna have to look in the table of content.
Hold on. Big book, boy. Uh, Let me see. Two different people. Oh, girl. He's crazy. Hold on. I had it on too. You can turn it off. I was going there looking for this book. Um, you don't know what? Let me see. Let me see. Western. Uh, shoot.
Nah, I can't. Well, I was trying to see if I actually had the Pope. I don't have a book, Kofi. I almost looked.
Yeah. Hold on. I'm trying to see. I see. Oya and the rise of the homie. Marcy State, Atlantic coast, the Western Sudan, the Morocco invasion of death. Cost of land and book.
There's another book. There's another book that I have called The Caribbean Slave Trade in Latin America and Cuba, some forth, where they talk about kidnapping directly the kidnapping and sending them to Cuba and to other parts of Latin America and so forth. So we know who's coming on those boats. If you remember the presentation that I done called the Sombreros, you remember that one?
Yeah.
Where I showed the manifest of the people that the captain and his journal, his log, the actual primary sources of this guy's log, where he's logging who he's picking up and all of these things, and then the travel, how long it would take them when he knew the turn. Peep game, y'all. They knew that they can go in one direction or a one direction way until they spot a sign of land, and then they would have to turn the ship to bring it right into where they needed to go and dock. So if they see land early, they know that they in the wrong spot. They supposed to hit a specific turn, which also goes with a current that pushes them right into where they trying to do their thing at. They knew all of this. They dropped them off in Cuba. Then they would drop. Then they, the ones from Cuba, they'll probably pick some people up that was used to working there, take them from the sugar cane to. That's why a lot of people from that was in the West Indies. That's why a lot of them you see them in New Orleans. You know what I'm saying? You get a lot of them because they just jumped over that water right there, and they end up in New Orleans on them sugar plantations. But if you don't see it,
Yeah, I see right here, Sean. I got okay. Only thing I see in this, I see the Oyo Empire, 18th century. And then when I go a little further, I see in the book, I
yes,
see the Yoruba age our country in the 17th and 18th century.
don't worry about it. I get it to them.
Hold on, let me stop sharing too, because I mean it's the right book. I got the right book. Hold on.
Yeah, it might take me a few months. Nah, I had to go. I need to go to my stores and see if I can pull it. To be more specific. Come on, Kobe, man. Why you know what I mean?
That's it right there, ain't it?
You trying to book flex?
No, I'm just showing the.
Let me know. Let me know what you're trying to do.
I got a ton of books sitting over here, but it's for something else. I just went and got this off here, but this the book you talking about?
Yeah. What book is that I'm talking about? What book is that?
What book?
That book right there.
The History of West Africa, Volume 1.
No, man. Can y'all see my screen?
Peace to Brother Asar. What you got? You probably got Paul. You got Volume 2.
What is Asar you talking about? Who in the chat?
I'm Hotep in the chat. What's up, Pete, brother? You talking about they were Jews?
Man, Asar Hotep is in the chat. Mr. Riparian Zone himself.
No, Hotep. I mean, I got Volume 1.
Got us losing friends out here. Now let me see if I can help us, man.
He got Volume 2. I ain't got Volume 2.
What else to tell? Tell laughing at me.
I'm ready to turn up.
Nah, man, but I said I got a bunch of books too. Kofi, you got what's dude name? Basil's book. You got Basil's book, The History of West Africa.
Yeah, yeah. Hold on.
The little small book.
Yeah, old Basil Davis.
Yeah, you got Basil Davis too.
I got the PDF. I don't got the physical book.
Okay.
Yeah, man, I can't let y'all book flex on.
Tell Kofi
what the book again, Sean?
Basil Davis and History of West Africa.
Yeah,
I know you ain't got Michael Crowder's History of West Africa book.
Yes, I do. I got that one too.
The one that I told you to order. You ain't read it.
No, I ain't read it yet.
Well, then you can't.
Yeah, I had this because I had just pulled it off. I just set it over there on the tape. I'm gonna have to go over and get that other one. But this the one you talking about right here, ain't it?
Okay, so how many? Let me see. I can't see your screen, Cole.
That's it right there, ain't
I
it?
can't see your screen, Cole.
Why you can't see it?
Cause I don't know why I can't see your screen.
I'm locked on now.
Kofi. Oh, okay, there you go. Yeah. That's the book.
Yeah. I hadn't jumped into it yet. I ain't gonna even lie to you. I hadn't even jumped into it yet.
What happened? What's the name?
What's the name?
Yeah.
But yeah. God damn. Oh my bad.
All right.
Oh.
So my whole point though is that, man, when you start looking at the history of West Africa and you start getting to migration, you don't see any of that. The only time you see some craziness infiltrate and come into West Africa is when the missionaries start coming and they start trying to sell their religion on people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm just gonna be honest. I don't really see people that's wandering in. I'm gonna tell you what I do see, and what I have seen is that I have seen in the UNESCO books, I believe Volume 3, which talks about the coming of Islam and all of that. You in Volume 3 and in the history of West Africa, you start seeing the Muslims, the Arabs coming into West Africa, and they tell you who were some of the earlier people that brought Islam into the region. But you don't hear this about Africans coming into West Africa with this Israelite stuff. I haven't seen one documented source that I could refer to that would tell me that this was the earliest interest of the Hebrew Israelites, or this is the early interest of Christianity. You know what I'm saying? But they tell us specifically that this dude, and this other dude was coming through via trade, and they were introducing Islam to people as early as such and such date. We don't get that with the Israelite and the this whole thing. We get these missionaries coming in, then all of a sudden here come baby Jesus, and everything white is pure, all the craziness.
And even with the Islam, this is a whole nother topic though. But even with the Islam, when they did come in, you don't see like everybody being converting to Islam, and it was mostly the royalty, the royal families, the royal court, and even them themselves wasn't fully accepting Islam. They still dealt with their traditional religions, and if you read the Arabic sources, they'll tell you like the tradition of them sprinkling dust on top of their head when they come and see the king and all that. Like that ain't Islam ain't got nothing to do with that. They'll tell you like they don't know a lot of these kings, Mansa Musa and a lot of other ones didn't know how to fast. Uh, all these other traditions that are associated with Islam. So they really didn't fully accept Islam. Just like but yeah, two, I found who I was talking about is Sultan Muhammad Bello, the son of Uthman Dan Fodio of the 18th century, so Sokoto Caliphate.
Yeah.
So that's who started this specific myth about the Yorubas coming from Canaan. I knew I was gonna find it on the pseudo website. It was on Rasta Livewire.
You know what? I actually got some information on him in this earlier portion of the book that I've already read, because I was going to pull from it, and Kofi was like, I needed to do the jihad information, and earlier on in this volume 2 book, man, it gets into the Caliphate, and it talks about Usman da Fadio. See, that's what makes me frustrated about certain history, man, is that I ain't gonna lie to you, man. I'm real. If I put out some information in regard to Islam and the Muslims, man, it took me forever to read it because it's painful.
It's hard. It's crazy reading some of that stuff.
No, just peep. Okay, peep this. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about real quick. So you have, listen to this. You have the jihad of Sheikh Ahmad. You have the jihad of El Hajj Umar. You have, now that's two people out of name that got a jihad. You got, let me go back. You have the jihad of, oh, my notes. Gotta do better. You had a jihad of, what dude that? El Hajj Umar. Oh yeah, Samari, Umar and Samari. Then you just get into all this the Sheikh Uman's and his primary role as a teacher and scholar and his reluctant fighter ability. And then you gotta understand what the jihads was about and how the Fulani and all these other people is involved in all of this. The hostile
Yep.
state army is involved in all of this. This was pretty much about territory, land, and so forth. It's crazy, man, but I don't want to get off the fact. It's just the fact that when you dealing with Yoruba, you gotta the Hassa and the Fulani all have ties into you know that correlation with the Yoruba and all of that. And you can kind of see them getting captive, being captives of all these people that's renegades.
Mm.
But yeah, your point is made on as far as that transition from traditionalism to this new stuff and the Hebrews just trying to find a way, man. They're trying to find a new argument every angle. And the Rastafari channel, that link, that source, the Rastafari source is a bad source to use.
Exactly. And a lot of them use it too.
Sure, they got a few bad sources. They got some bad teachers too.
Yeah, I was trying to look and see if anybody had it in the comments, man. I'm finna have to get on off here, man. But before we get off here, man, I got cut off. I don't know if I
Oh,
got disconnected.
hold
Huh?
on, Kofi. Hold on before you do that. Let me say this real fast. All right. So let me just read you a little bit from the volume two. It says, as there were never enough missionaries to staff the villages, missionary disease and mortality rates were high. Lay officials were often substitute sometimes Afro Americans and Afro West Indians who had immigrated to Sierra Leone to seek their fortune. They too spread Europeanism, Christian influence. Recaptors also helped to convert and re-educate one another. Those already settled would take new arrivals, usually their own countrymen, into their own houses and prepare them for a new kind of life. Within a few decades, the recaptives were apparently transformed. Governor Temple in 1834 would describe his subjects as a nation of free black Christians, 32,000. This is what the Israelites are, angry Christians. So here he certainly exaggerated. Some perhaps 5% were Muslim, others clung to the religions of their homelands and were practicing familiar rites. Yet by the mid-century, only a waning minority would openly admit that they were not Christian. Despite the efforts of the missionary and pastors to enforce a European version of Christian religion, which in origin is neither European nor African, a synthesis of old and new faiths emerged. Many Christians, particularly among the Yoruba, the largest recaptive group, remained members of secret societies they had brought from their homelands without feeling that membership was necessarily incompatible with Christianity. Old customs such as protected burial rights and communications with family dead were grafted onto the Christian forms. So even in this, based on what I read, you don't even see, and I'm dealing with 1814, 1824 around that time period. I'm not even seeing, and this is during the illegal era. I'm not seeing nobody talking about the Israelites. They ain't talking about no Israelites. Now, if you want to talk about Islam and being Muslim and all of that old stuff and traditionalism, we can get into that because that's your argument right there. But the Yoruba, listen, this is so the same thing that they were doing with leukemia in Cuba and the Santerias, they were doing it in Sierra Leone. The same thing, integrating uh,
Yep, with Catholicism.
come on, man. They did it. Yep. They basically they call it like the Creole diaspora or something like that because it was a jumbo and a gumbo pot of people all together. But they did that as well, man.
Mhm.
All right, I'm done, Coach.
Yeah, I got to get up off here, man. I got to balance my darn time, man, with the fam. Um, but yeah, I had got cut off doing the Monster Warrior Clan show. I don't know if I got kicked out. Must have got kicked out or whatever. But anyway, I'll just reiterate, just be on the lookout next week. I don't know what we're gonna have in store on Kofi Paisai TV next week. We may jump into the origin of Black Power. I had already started on some slides, but I'm gonna see if I can get some of the other brothers to participate in it because that's what it's supposed to be in a presentation slash discussion. So we may do that next week on Kofi Paisai TV, the origin of Black Power. But we'll be back next week. Also be looking forward either. I may drop the article a day before, but I'll be dropping the article next week. It'll probably be Saturday, it might be Sunday. I might wait till Sunday. Drop the article early Sunday morning, then do the presentation. It's kind of surrounded around the article a little bit, but it's actually an address to someone who addressed me or took my post and tried to make me look bad or tried to make some type of statement and said I don't know anything about this particular deity that's in Kemet. So I'll be doing a whole presentation. Where the article is called Raw Data. Raw Data is a play off of deity Ra. Raw Data, where Raw Data, the Raw document, the Understanding Raw, the many manifestations. I know y'all tired of hearing about the book, the unpublished book, and you'll understand through the article why the book isn't out. The book was finished in 2016, and why the book isn't out. So you'll get thing of why the book is not out through the article, and you'll get the chapters. You get all 7 chapters, but this 6 and 7 chapter is not in the book because I think I'm gonna go ahead and publish it, but I'm going to exclude the 6 and 7 chapters. I give you 5 chapters, the name of the chapters. I give you inserts in the book and some of the updates that I had already did, and I got to finish. And I'm gonna go ahead and put the book out, but y'all understand why the book wasn't out. And again, the book is called The Raw Document: The Understanding of Ra and Its Many Manifestations. The article surrounded the excerpts in the book, why the book isn't out. My conclusion of what Ra is also in the article, which is also in the book. Um, the raw data, the raw document, understanding Ra is many manifestation article. I'll be dropping it Sunday, and I'll be doing a presentation called Ra, the most revered deity in Kemet. This woman that I won't give her name. Um, she said I don't know anything about Ra, and Ra is Lucifer. So we'll be talking about who is Lucifer. We'll go through the Elijah, Lucifer. I'm gonna go through what is the cult, what is anthropomorphism, what is mythology, what is zoology. We're gonna go through
Kofi,
what is manifestation. Huh?
That's what's stupid.
why you can't give us the woman name, but you gave us a phony dude name in your other article?
What you mean? What for to do? What for to do?
Mm.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
wow, wow! Just cause
yeah.
on, and you gonna be hot. You gonna be hot when you see this up. It was 2 names. Well, it's actually I put the people that actually put that 20 pages of the book. I give their names, and if 2 other brothers, where's one other brother
Hey,
I can
Kofi,
give the
when
name
that
for a
part?
certain reason too far gone.
Exactly. Satepara.
And his
Yeah,
other brother like it's gonna be too far gone too. What happened?
yeah. Kofi into a whole lot of back and forth with people on the low low. Hmm.
I'm gonna show the discourse too.
Nah,
It's
I'm
just
trying
gonna
to
be. I'm
figure
gonna teach
out
it as a
what
learning
happened.
lesson, but we gonna go through Ra a little bit on there, and we gonna go through
He
Ra.
he he used to tell.
Nah, I was trying to figure out what happened.
What you talking about? What incident you talking about with this female? Oh, with the
Yeah,
female,
that's what he talking about.
she hijacked my post. She
What's her
took.
name? What female? What's her name?
I don't know her name right off the top.
Oh,
I,
okay. You don't know her
I
name now.
I don't know. But see, I don't want to, I don't know. I ain't
I'm
like
trying
y'all,
to
man.
figure
I don't
out.
want to. I told the sister I was gonna do a presentation because I don't go back
Yeah.
and
This
figure out
new
what.
information to me.
Oh yeah. So I mean, I have the post up. I'm gonna have each post because we gonna go through the whole thing. Because I'm gonna, like I said, we're gonna talk about coat, the word. Cause we're gonna go through the etymology of coat. We're gonna go through Lucifer, the etymology of Lucifer. We're gonna go through the Hebrew uh word of what Lucifer and what the meaning of Lucifer, even the etymology through Hebrew. We're gonna go through anthropomorphism. We're gonna go through zoomorphism. We're gonna go through mythology. We're gonna break those down. Then we're gonna get into Ra and what Ra is. And then I'm gonna show a bunch of different primary attestations of Ra. And I'm gonna give the importance because I was trying to explain to the girl this is the reason why I'm talking about mythology and myth and anthropomorphism and zoomorphism because you see Ra has many different forms, you know what I'm saying? Animal forms, human forms, you know what I'm saying? And we know that Ra in the Meta Nature means sun. And we're going to talk about why they revered him as the creator and as the sun and why he is mostly revered out of all those other deities and actually what the sun does for human beings. So I'm going to break down a whole list of what the
So we're not
sun
gonna get the
does.
book.
Yes, you're gonna get the book, but I'm
When?
just saying
When?
you're gonna get the book
I don't
soon.
care about none of all that other stuff.
I
When we getting
promise
the
you're
book?
gonna get the book because I was working on something else that I don't want to get, which
Kofi.
y'all know about, but I'm not. I'm gonna put that on
Kofi.
the back burner.
Kofi.
Y'all get the book. You're
Kofi.
gonna get the book before I
Kofi.
promise.
Yeah,
Kofi.
you gotta come out with the book now. People calling
Kofi.
Ron the devil and all that. You gotta set the record straight.
Kofi.
Hmm.
Where the book at?
It's coming. It's
Mm-mm.
coming. It's
Man,
coming.
Satep was supposed to be able to read something,
Right.
like literature
I'm gonna
review.
send y'all something, but the
We
reason
still ain't.
why when
Nah,
you
don't try
read
to
the
out talk
article,
me.
when
I
you
ain't trying to.
read
I
the
ain't trying to go
article,
back and forth with you. Why you
no.
trying to out talk me?
No,
Why you
because
trying to
when
out
you
talk
read
me?
the article,
Mm-mm.
you will
No,
understand
this was
why.
way before you had an argument with this
Okay,
lady about rock.
okay. Satepara actually seen the first 20 pages.
Oh,
Satepara,
so
but
okay. So
but
Satep Rock
no.
seen it.
But
No, no,
then
no, no.
Satepara
Mm-mm.
asked again, and
Mm,
I was going to
mm,
send it to him, but I didn't send it to him. But you will see
mm,
why in the article. I got it in the article.
mm.
Just
So
wait. You
you sent Satep Rock the first 20 pages
know
when you
I
said
actually
that you was
sent
gonna send us the first 20
you
pages.
at the first. This was
Oh,
before you
There
became
you
a.
go.
nah. Okay,
You,
okay. I see. Oh, you segregated the information. That's what this about.
I'll tell you what. I tell you
Nah,
what.
mm-mm, mm-mm. Don't try to don't try to turn your head and look off the screen. And
Oh,
I'm getting it to him right now,
let me
y'all. Y'all
let
hear
me
this?
Where the
let
This
me
article
put
man,
it
this
at?
man
directly in
called
the
me the
article.
brother.
I'm gonna drop it Sunday. I'm gonna drop it Sunday. I just gotta add my conclusion to it, and I'm done with it. I guarantee a lot of people gonna like this,
I
like
ain't
it.
reading that crap.
You ain't got to. I guarantee people are gonna like it.
Ain't nobody
Hopefully
gonna
people
like that.
like it. Hopefully people gonna be like they gonna see the direction that I'm going in, why I say what I say about Ra with the examples, the primaries, and um some other little things I don't want to give away. But just check the article out.
Everything a secret now.
Just check the article out. But
Middle
I'm saying
finger to the article.
I
Where the
give a lot
book at?
of experts in chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4. Because the first chapter, I just get the chapters out right now. The first chapter is called Who is Ra? The second chapter is called Ra History. The third chapter is called The Cosmological Process. Um, the fourth chapter is called The Great Lenses of Ra, which we talk about the lenses of Ra, which you can go to the presentation, signify names of Ra, but I only give you one lentity. I clarified the in chapter 4 is the great lenses of Ra. Chapter 5 is the little lenses of Ra. So I break down those lenses of Ra, what the word lenting means, and we go into so those are the 5 chapters that are going to be in the book. The old chapter was quantum physics and human terms was the 7th chapter, but I'm going to exclude them two. So it's going to be 5 chapters in the book. And the process now I've been deleting a lot of information and updating a lot of information because I wrote the book in 2015. But check the article out. The article gonna go through a
He wrote the
whole
book in 2015, 4 years ago, and we still ain't got the book.
And he don't want to
Right.
give. He won't
Listen
let me
to
do
the article.
literature review on the book because he want me to read the article. So he want me to get bored with the article and then not get all the information that's in the book. You real selfish right now.
This guy. When I get
You
through with
real you real selfish.
the error. Okay, you had.
Oh,
I
yeah,
get.
the
I
errors.
say it's in the article.
Hmm.
In
But I'm in
2015,
my right. I'm in my
my
I
article.
read the book.
Because I want to
Where the
put it.
article at? Where the article at?
I'm putting it out Sunday. So tell.
So tell want to read the article now. I'm
I
in
got.
Tell.
I got to finish. I got to add my conclusion.
Mm-mm.
I got to add my
We
conclusion.
don't even care about your conclusion.
Well, let me put a conclusion in. I'm gonna send it to y'all before I do.
Mhm.
Before I post it on
Like you're
Sunday.
supposed to be sending us the book, like you did. I'm in my right.
Right, when you read the article, you will know why. And in 2000, like I said in the
Well, I
article,
got to read the article
I'm
to
done.
understand why. I'm in
Listen,
my I read the book, the whole book.
two,
Hmm? Hmm? You want to talk about that? You don't talk about that, huh? I'm gonna say it again for the audience. I'm in my I read the whole book. Say he didn't, Kofi.
listen,
Nah,
that was,
Did he read it or not? Yes or no?
yeah,
Nah,
that was
Kofi.
long. That
Kofi.
was,
Kofi. Did he read it?
oh, baby, I'm finna get off. Y'all
Yeah,
done
yeah.
got me
You
in
about to
trouble.
get You need to be in trouble. Listen. Wait, go get her. Let me talk to her real quick. Cause you out of character.
Y'all crazy. But man, let's get out. I'm finna get out of here, man. But I'll send the article to y'all
Yeah.
before I publish
Yeah,
it.
you better use her as your excuse.
Yeah, I gotta go. But I promise I'll send y'all the article before I publish it on Sunday.
All right.
All right. I'm out of
Hey,
here, y'all.
real
Huh?
quick. If Kofi, if you don't come back next week with the if y'all don't come back with the origins of Black Power, then I'm gonna come back again. Either
Well, you
with
coming back? Well, you coming back again, brother? You
Look at
coming
that.
back?
Listen
all
to
right, let's
this.
do it. Let's do it. I'm gonna either
Kofi
come back
lazy.
with a shoe, who is a shoe from the Orisha shoe from the Yoruba pantheon, or I'm gonna come with African American firsts.
They said that Shu was is a Hebrew Israelite.
Yeah, they say he's the devil too.
They
So
say the
shit.
devil. That's what I heard.
Yeah,
They
they
say,
say they say he's the devil. So him and Rod got some similarities apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna clear all that up, man. So that'll probably be what I'm coming with. Who is a shoe? So anybody that's familiar with the Yoruba pantheon, this might be a treat for you.
yeah. And on that note, I want to say Shimim Hotep. Shimim Hotep just means to pause in peace. We appreciate it, y'all, for tuning in to Kofi Pipeside TV. Again, y'all could have been doing anything with y'all time,
Yeah, Unc live right now. So hurry
but
up.
so y'all took the time to, to rock
Hurry
out with
up.
us.
Look at your
Man.
son. Is that your son or your baby
No,
girl?
that's
That's baby girl in the back.
yeah. So, but anyway, we appreciate y'all, man. Stay tuned next week, man, for the Mossy Warrior Clan for Ra is the most revered deity in Kemet, the address to someone on Facebook presentation, and the presentation on Ushu by our brother Sutik on Kofi Paisai TV, as well as the article on Sunday. And
Can't
on that
wait.
note, huh?
I said I can't wait.
Yes, indeed. And on that note, Black African Power,
Boop,
family.
boop, boop, boop.